Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard 101 video. It's not exactly a Wizard 101 video. Today I'm going to be going over something I'm sure you guys have probably seen before, but I'd like to give my take on it, let you know what I think, and kind of go from there, talk about it a bit. So today, as you can see, I'm going over the new critical and crit block stat rebalance that they've talked about releasing, what it is, and exactly how it works. So, basically, what this is talking about is that they need to rebalance stats because, I've actually probably mentioned this before, but when you're creating a game, everything will eventually reach a cap, and the reason why it reaches that cap is because it cannot keep eternally improving. So for example, you get to a point where a lot of stats, there's no real legitimate reason for them to improve, and when they do improve, what I'm saying is it can't eternally go on. So at level 10 in Wizard 101, you may have 5 damage, right? At level 30, you may have 30 to 40 damage, and so on and so forth. But when you get to level 130, you have like 160 damage. And basically what King's Isle is saying is they don't like that it's just ever increasing. On top of that, what they don't like is the fact that when a lot of stats reach 100%, there's no room for improvement. So, for example, resistance, accuracy, pip chance, pip conversion, as shown here, there's basically no room for improvement once it reaches 100% because there's just no point. So when you release new gear and new content, it makes it less important. I mean, they can just make every single gear set give 100% accuracy, right? But then there's no diversity in the slightest. And it just kind of... it reaches a limit, which is why they want to try to change this and change it in a different way. So also on top of this, they want different. They want to do this because they felt like it was removing school identity. So for example, ice wizards. There wasn't really any room to increase resist because they were at like a base of 60-70%, right? Well, not on gear. They had a base of like 40% on gear, but with pets and everything, it was up to that much. So they compensated by adding more damage and crit, but what it does is it makes it so that eventually every school feels similar. So for example, right now fire feels very similar to storm because fire and storm both have massive damage, massive critical, and when you put them together they feel very similar. To be honest, fire and storm, I would rate them almost to equals at this point. Storm might be a bit stronger, but it's not to a point where it's like so much stronger. So what they're trying to do is they're adding a limit. So for example, they have this function here. F of x is x over x plus a. X is the stat, and then basically what it's doing is it's adding a hard cap. So say what they want to do is they want to make it so that it's limited to a percentage. So, sorry, I'm trying to think exactly how this works because I'm not the best at math, but what I do know is that they're going to be seeing diminishing values over time. So they're trying to make it so that stats have more meaning and more impact. Some people might not like this. I think that it's a good thing personally because I think that stats have been losing meaning for a while. I think that we've reached a point where certain stats aren't as important. So like for example, accuracy, for the longest time, I'm sure most people have had 100% accuracy, right? We've had resistance. Everyone can get decent resistance while having balanced stats, right? And with newer gear coming out, almost every school can get like up to 150 damage and almost 100% crit, right? So what they're trying to do is they're trying to fix this so it's less so they can keep adding more gear that thing's going off in the background. It's annoying me. But they want to make it so that they can add more gear with more stats. I think this is a good thing. It will add more diversity to the game, make more gear sets to go for, and make, you know, it just makes a lot more sense. Now, that's the first part of this newsletter. The second part is critical. Crit and block, they are changing it. So basically what it is doing is it's not changing the actual physical stat. So for example, if I have 80% right now, I'll still have 80% after this update. That is not changing. Don't think that your stats are changing, because they're not. If you have 840 critical, you'll still critical 100% of the time. What is changing is they are changing block and how block works. So, for example, what it is doing is they're changing how block works to make it more important. As you probably know right now, block is literally useless. There is no point in having block. I don't think I've met any wizard that has high block, because there's no point in it. It's so dramatically low, the percentages, that it doesn't matter. But what they're doing here is they're changing it so the block stat works almost like resistance does. So for example, right, if you have 150% damage and 50% resist, overall you're taking about 75% increased damage. So what they're doing here is they're making it so that if the defender does not block, as it says here, if the defender does not block, his block stat protects him from critical hits. So it's making a protection system where it changes the multiplier, which is okay. That makes sense, because it's always a crit stat. So for example, if you have 100%, right, 100% crit, and say someone has 50% block, which is incredibly difficult to do, you are going to probably have a multiplier of about 1.5 times, which is still a lot of damage. It's not as much, but it's a lot. This isn't going to be changing a shit ton. For PvP, it's going to change more than you think, but I think it is a positive change for PvP, because it will add more strategy, add more reasons to, for example, now it is more viable to have the Darkmoor gear boots than it is to have like the to have the Professor's Horde boots, which were the level 100 metas, because the boots, Malistaire boots, give block, so it makes more sense to have those if you want balance. But if you don't want balance and you want to go for crit, you still can. PvE, this isn't going to change much, to be completely honest, because bosses are going to have similar blocks to what they had before, and you're probably not going to see you're not going to see a lot changing in regards to PvE. I think PvE is going to feel very, very similar. PvP, on the other hand, is going to change. I am no PvP warlord or whatever, but I can say I think objectively this is a positive change, because what it is doing is it is adding more strategy to the game, adding more use for more stats, and overall it makes more sense. You aren't going to see, you're not going to see your critical go down at all. My fire's still going to have 80% critical. He's still going to critical 4 every 5 hits after this update. If you have 100% crit, you're still going to crit 100% of the time. It's just going to change how much blocking happens, which I think is okay. I think that makes sense. And why would they have a block stat in the game if you're not going to fucking use it? Nobody uses block. This is a good change, and King's Island needs to make more things like this. They're obviously going to make more things like this. So what I want to know is, what's your opinion in the comments? I've given my opinion. I think this is a very positive change, especially adding new reasons to get new gear, like adding diminishing returns on certain things to make it so that it makes more sense to chase after new gear sets. So because eventually you're going to reach a point where there isn't a point, because the only thing that's going to be changing is the critical and damage values. So at that point, you know, what's the point besides getting more damage, which is, you know, pointless. But anyways, not pointless, but it's redundant. So let me know what your opinion is in the comments. If you want to debate with what I've said, let me know. Debate with me. I think overall, it makes sense. It's adding more dynamics to the game, and I think the game really needs more dynamics right now. So I'll definitely do a Test Realm video when Test Realm comes out. It might come out on Monday, not sure. If not next week, then the week after, definitely. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my explanation here. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a fantastic day. Thank you all for watching.